must I be a teenager in love?
Got a bit of living history in the studio now. Because there's this question to ask. What was it like, really like, to be part of a great rock and roll invention, explosion, more than 60 years ago? To actually be there when it happened. And jazz kind of went that way, and rock and roll was in. Tight blue jeans, sex, very, very loud guitars up front. Somebody who can tell us is Marty Wilde.
Yeah, who joins us in the studio, and someone who shared his journey nearly the last 4 decades. His pop star daughter, Kim Wilde. Huge hit with Kids in America, co-written by your dad, Marty. Yeah. So we are in the presence of musical greatness and family greatness as well. Marty, you've got a big birthday coming up, haven't you, in just a few days?
April the 15th, yeah, it is, yeah.
And you're going to be?
85.
Wow. Well, you're looking 85. Well.
Looking great.
Well, possible.
And doing well, because you're still producing music.
Yeah, I love music. I adore music. I have done since I was a child. And I can't stop. That's the strange thing. I keep saying, it's a bit like I keep saying I'm going to retire, and then I don't. And then I keep saying I'm never going to write another song, and then I just keep writing. I can't stop it. It's in me.
You were born the year war broke out. You were born in 1939.
I was.
So as you were becoming sort of sentient about music, listening to the wireless, you'd have been hearing jazz bands, the Glenn Miller Band, all that kind of stuff. Can you remember hearing your first rock and roll record?
Yeah, I can.
What was it?
Well, I can remember the impact of it, and that was... I went to see The Blackboard Jungle. It was a film called The Blackboard Jungle.
Yes.
And the opening music credits was Bill Haley. And it was Rock Around the Clock. And I wasn't a fan of, necessarily a fan of Haley's voice, but I loved the rhythm. And I went out of that cinema, and I remember I was just tapping away. I thought, this is it, because I could play guitar. We had a skiffle group, and I went to the band. We were all little amateurs, you know, but I said, the skiffle's out, rock and roll's in. And I said, we're going to accent on the rhythm. It was absolutely fantastic.
What year was that, Marty?
That would have been, for me, when I first started, about 56, 55, 56, I think, when it first came out.
Yeah.
And we had a little skiffle band called the Hound Dogs. And we used to...
After Elvis's single?
Well, yes, it was, yeah. And, yeah, it was.
And when... You see... Before then, guitars, when they were in lineups, even skiffle lineups and jazz before that, they were in the back of the mix. They weren't leading the sound. And suddenly, guitars weren't just at the front; they were distorted.
Yeah,
they were actually deliberately distorted and wound up so that they buzzed and rocked and roared. Yeah. That must have been incredible to be part of that invention.
A bit later, I always remember seeing Jeff Beck put his guitar. I couldn't get over it. This was just after the rock and roll period. It was a bill he was in band, I think it was the Yardbirds or something like that, and he turned around, I'd never seen it before, and he thrust his Defender, whatever he was playing, into the speaker, and of course, a fantastic sound came, that distortion. Yeah, it was just, but it was brilliant, you know.
Amazing.
And the guitar was it's a wonderful instrument. Great instrument.
Listening to all these stories as you grew up, was it inevitable that you were going to end up in music?
Well, I mean, I remember very much Elvis was king in the house. I mean, obviously, apart from good old Dad. And, yeah, so Elvis was king. And of course, I need to remind you that one of the songs on Dad's new EP is about Elvis. It's his tribute to Elvis. And,
what's it called?
And, it's called Elvis,
Talking about Elvis.
Talking about
Yeah, which I sing on with him. But, you know, Elvis was a big influence on Dad. I mean, he's the reason you're in the music industry and how you got into rock and roll.
And there was a moment, wasn't there, when you might have met Elvis?
There was.
But you just missed out. Was that because you were dragged away by your PR because you had to promote a single,
I had to promote
your own
Bad
music?
Boy. That was my first hit, self-penned hit was Bad Boy. And I was all arranged. I was going to go the next day. It was in Germany, and his bodyguard, Lamar Fike, his name was, Lamar fixed it up. He said, yeah. I said, and in the end, Larry Pounds, my manager, who was Tommy Still's manager as well, he said, I'm sorry, Marty. He said, well, we've got to plug this. We need it to get up the charts. I said, oh, so anyway. So I didn't get to see him. But
just explain what it would have meant to you to meet Elvis.
I think I would have been very, very quiet. I wouldn't know really what to have said. I know a friend of mine, several of my friends, loads of my friends, met him And Elvis was always very polite. But I would have seen him in a much more personal level, I think, because there were no cameras around, and it was it was in the army then, you know, so it would have been fantastic. And Cliff went over there, knocked at the door, and he wasn't in. I think something like that happened. I don't know for Cliff. So I never got to see him then.
Did you, just kind of coming to the end of this now, but did you feel like you were part of a rebel movement? Because I remember as a little boy growing up in the 60s, hearing church sermons and lectures at school about the evils of rock and roll, the devil's music, all that, the kind of nonsense that was spoken about jazz 30 years before, you know? But did you feel that you were part of an edgy new wave?
No, I didn't give it. I just felt the rock and roll. I remember the people, I think it was for the Daily Express or something like that, one of the newspapers said, "Do you think it'll last? This is never going to last." I said, "It will." I said the rhythm, rhythm is for the whole part of this music, a big part of it. I said, that's going to last. So rock and roll will last, no question about it. And its influence is incredible. Just one quick thing about Elvis I'd like to say is that he was the blueprint for so many of us, because he showed you it's the style of singing, the voice, the clothes, what to wear, how to wiggle or move, whatever you were going to do, and the attitude. And it was the blueprint for all rock and rollers all over the world. And we folled it, you know, and
we're still following it.
I was going to say, Kim, as well.
He's still following it. He starts his tour on the, I think it's the 20... Oh, you know, he's touring now.
Tour now.
He's doing his tour now.
20 live dates on your Greatest Hits tour.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
But he's always on the road, you know, he jumps in the car, he drives himself there. I mean, that could be 3 hours. Then he's on stage for an hour and a half.
And the voice is still completely there, isn't it?
And his voice is absolutely pristine.
Tell us about the EP quickly before we finish
The EP is Two Eyes Streaming, which is a beautiful song that my dad has written. Dad wrote it, and it's a recording with him. But it's an EP with 4 songs, and one of the songs is about Elvis, and there are 2 other songs on there too. But you know, for Marty, I mean, for Dad to be writing songs still, he's still writing now.
Does he still write for you?
No, he hasn't been writing for me lately, but that doesn't mean he won't be.
But
still very much a songwriter. I mean, he's nearly 85, a songwriter, a performer, a beautiful singer, has a passion for music. And I'm here to remind him to say all those things. I'm here because Mum said, you better go on, because if you don't say it, nobody else, you definitely won't. He'd spend the whole morning talking about Elvis.
Well, no one's going to complain about that.
No, not at all.
It's funny, though, isn't it? We talk about, of course, rock and roll lasting forever, but it's ageless. I was listening to a track from The Who, Won't Get Fooled Again, the other day, and those opening amazing chords by Pete Townsend. I was thinking, this could have been recorded yesterday. And it was recorded over 50 years ago.
I agree.
Timeless.
I think they're all timeless. Oh, I've got to mention, just quickly, I'm going to Blackheath. That's where I was born, in Blackheath, up near Blackheath.
In South East London.
And I'm there, South London. I'm there, Blackheath. I'm looking forward to seeing you all.
It's a coming home concert on the 27th of April, Dad.
And I love
Well, her catchphrase was keep dancing, yours is keep rocking.
Oh, thank you very much.
Great to see you both. Thank you so much.
Right then.
Right, Marty and Kim might be names suggested for 2 lambs this morning, Laura.
That's a good idea.